Good morning. Thank you for tuning into today's class. We have a graduate here. He graduated pre-K4 today. So happy that you could join us. I hope this class is really helping building better practice, stronger practice, and having the strength. It's very easy to develop more flexibility or to take your practice in many, many different places. So that's the idea behind this class, because I know very well if you're sticking to some classic traditional yoga, not to say that it's bad, it's hard to really advance. So if you're interested in advancing, this is a great class. And some things you just can't do, and that's fine. And if you have if you pull back when you need to, you'll be able to do it tomorrow and the next day. And it's really not important to get it today, but if you consistently are working towards better practice, your practice will get better and better and better. And there's definitely things that you can supplement with. And that's, again, partially why I'm teaching this class, is so that you have things that can most certainly get you to a handstand, get you to splits. And these are, in my opinion, basic positions. And if you have the desire, you can do them. And one day you'll be able to do them. And hopefully you're getting closer. But if you sent me a video of it, it's very easy to give you exactly what it would be that you could get that handstand. And it's a great time, this time of the year is a great time to have it, because then you can start to do it outside. So if you did not know, I have a Sunday class. It's a Zoom class that's 10 to 11, and that's a basic class, but helps build up good practice as well. So if you know of someone that needs more of a basic class, that's a great class to inform them with. And then I have a more restorative class, and that's on Wednesdays. And there's not a day that I don't do restorative yoga or joint mobility. And I add a little bit of that to those classes, and you can register for those classes at jonwittyoga.com. You can buy masks on my website as well if you're interested in buying a mask or giving a mask to a friend or a family member. So you won't need a lot of equipment. A chair is good if you're learning splits or you're having a hard time getting low. That's a very good thing to have. I use blocks because it's just easier for me and easier for you guys to see. But a wall is needed if you're just learning to do a handstand. And again, it doesn't have to be all the way up. And I'll give you a lot of different tips along the way. So how we're going to start the class is in an all four position. So when I come on my hands and my knees, my hands are just underneath my shoulders. And I'm just going to point my fingers forward. And I'm just going to rock from hand to hand. So if your shoulders will move past the line of the wrist in a handstand, and then to really take less pressure off the wrist, what you'll do is you'll have the weight in the heels of the hands. So it's really kind of learning how to bring the weight forward and back. But getting more and more weight in the hands is really why someone couldn't support themselves in strength in a handstand. So you want the weight in the hands so that you can build up the strength in the shoulders and to support the wrist. So I'm not pushing incredibly hard with my hands, but I am pushing. But when I am in my handstand, I'm pushing quite hard, right, to support the position. So turn the hands to the sides and then just move the weight around. Just moving it around. And sometimes with wrist work, you might do too much, and that can cause some pain and inflammation. So you really just need a little bit. And I'm a bigger fan of, like anything, doing it throughout the day rather than just a whole lot. So I'm just doing a little bit just so that when we're on our hands, you're ready for it, right? So bring the hands to turn forward again, and lift the thumbs and lift the heels of your hands off the floor. So lift up, and then as you lift up through the heels of the hands, slowly lower down. You can pop it up with a little bit of, it doesn't have to be like a power move, but it is lifting, and then you'll start to feel how the forearms will stretch out here. So I'm going to turn the hands now in, and then when I turn the hands in, I'm going to do a circular motion. So this will stretch out more of the forearms. So what we just did in the heel lifts, this is a good addition to stretch out the form, especially if you're doing a lot of arm balancing or handstands. They get that tissue gets kind of tight, right? And then come back into the middle and turn the backs of your hands on the floor. So now my backs of my hands are on the floor. Now I'm going to lean to my right and lean to my left. So this can be a little bit more difficult, if you will, in stretching out the form. But the idea of pushing is that there's tension, and the tension will support the range of motion. So that's something that I talk a lot about. When you do the splits, you're not just going to the end range of motion where things can tear. You want to support that end range of motion if you're ever going to your fullest capacity in front splits or side splits, right? So come back into the middle and turn the hands forward and just bring the shoulders over the hands or wrists and come up into a plank pose. And then connect into fingertips, connect into knuckles, connect into thumbs. So it's not that the hands have to bubble here, but if I'm using my hands and I'm gripping the floor, they may bubble a little bit, right? You might get that bubbling effect. And then I'm gonna pull back up into a down dog, and I may wanna pedal my legs out if I haven't been up and down dog today yet. So think I'm pulling your arms forward, think that you're pulling your hips back in space. The transferring of the weight is, like you're walking. You're walking, not that you're walking in a handstand, but you will be moving. And you may move the weight into one hand more than the other, and that might be the reason why you fall out. So it's really getting both hands to be more involved. And then what you can do is come into a plank again, reach back with the heels, get more front body involved, and then slowly lower all the way to the floor and take the arms into a cactus position, and then lift the arms up. And I say this more in my basic classes or my fundamental classes. This is a really basic thing to do. The head is down and the arms are up, but it's a good way to start to get more into your shoulders. At some point, if you have an elastic band, that can be a very good tool to use in strengthening the rotators, and that's a big part of what's going to hold you up in a handstand. So just take a couple more breaths. Try to lift the arms up a little bit more if you can. Then bring the hands down and come up into a low cobra. Just a low cobra. Bring yourself down. Bring yourself up, same height or a little bit higher. Again, use the hands. What should get tired are your forearms. If your hands aren't really getting tired in these positions, you're not really using them. Not that we want to burn them out, but you should feel those muscles working. So bring yourself down and then curl up into something higher if you'd like. So bring yourself up, broaden the shoulders, broaden your back. You'll see me move around because I'm adjusting my body. For you, it might help. It might really help you in getting more space through the front of the body. So just take one more breath here. Bring yourself slowly forward and down, and bring the hands just underneath the shoulders. Now don't tuck the toes if you can't. Keep the tops of the feet in the floor, and come up, if you can, come up to the height of the elbows, and then bring yourself up to a plank. Right? And then in this, when you're on the tops of the feet, it's a lot like pointing the toes in a handstand. So it's a good way to kind of support yourself. Not that you have to point the feet, but pointing the feet might be easier to learn at first. Then lower the knees and then sit back. But this time we're going to take the arms forward. We're not sitting back into a child's pose. You're going to bring the arms forward and lift the arm. As I'm down here, I'm trying to lift my arms away from the floor. Trying to keep my ribs in. And that's essentially what you're doing in a handstand. So come back up to all fours, and all fours have the tops of the feet in the floor. Now push through the hands and round through the shoulders. And this is what you're keeping in a handstand. Lift the knees up off the floor. So if I don't engage in my shoulders, and sometimes I forget as well, it can be a factor why you won't be able to go up. So you really have to get the serratus and the rotators involved in order to come up and balance here. And then come down with the knees and turn the hands back towards the knees. So this is more of an external rotation. So move it back, rock it back, move it forward, rock it back, and move it forward. Now, peel it back a little bit where the elbows bend and the elbows are moving to the body, right? And more is something that you can do, of course, but you may not actually need it, and it actually might be too much for you. So maybe just a little bit. And then turn the hands forward and be on the knuckles. And just move the weight forward into the hands and back. Now you might need some extra padding for this. Right? So I'm just moving it back and forward. And it can be a fuller range of motion, right? You can come down and go, but like I said, maybe not. The forward, see how I'm forward? Very good for the interior of the wrist. Right? Turn the hands forward and come up into a plank pose. So lift up, reach back through the heels, get really shallow through the front of the body. And I say this all the time, it's more work, but if you're wanting to support your weight, you need the strength to do it, right? It's not just going to come from, some of it is alignment, certainly, but a lot of it is good strength. Then go back up into a down dog, and then in down dog you could again pedal the legs out, right? Take your left leg up to the ceiling so the left leg is high, and bring the knee and nose together. Pull it in and take it up. Now bring the knee into the chest, into the abdomen, and take the leg into a circular motion. Bring the knee into the chest and circle it out. At any point you feel like you're like, oh, I'm weak here, I'm tight here. That's where I would hold it. Take the left leg up and then step the left foot forward to a low lunge, up into a high lunge. So come up into an overhead position, pull the abdomen, pull the ribs in, push through the feet, think of squeezing the arms in, right? And then transfer the weight forward into the front of the foot and move it back a little bit. So just kind of feel how you can move your weight around, because again, that's what you're doing in any balancing pose. Bring it forward into a warrior three. Draw the shoulders back. And again, this is not so much essential in the pose, but this is what you're essentially doing, is connecting more into your shoulders, into your body to balance, right? Come back up into a warrior one or a high lunge. And in a high lunge, lift from the pubic bone, drop through the tail, bring the right hand down and take the left arm up to the ceiling. So the left arm is high and the right hand is low. Right? You can make it wider. I'm going to bring my left hand down and possibly my left elbow to the floor. And it's good to, get to a block, right? And even if I couldn't, I know that that's going to happen, right? Take the left arm up to the ceiling and rotate the palm back towards the face and rotate it forward and rotate it back, and then bring the left elbow down again, right, just to get more into your hips, right? And then bring your right knee down and sit the hips back a little bit in space. As you point through the foot, you can flex it. This is where you'll probably need blocks, right, if you need it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to point the foot and take the left leg up off the floor. I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to take it up. I'm going to bring it down. Take it up again. And then bring it down. Now take your right hand on the outside of your left ankle and think that the leg's still lifting up towards the face. And that'll get you more forward over your leg. It's a big part of this. And if you felt around your hip, you should feel those muscles engaging, right? And then bring the right hand on the inside and just make the stance longer, right? Just make it longer, but stay strong, right? Stay active, right? And then make it, as you're in a long stance, like we're approaching the splits, but we're not. Just to get a feel of what you're eventually going to be doing, right? It doesn't have to be all the way. And like I said, maybe all the way isn't really available just yet. So come back into a low lunge. Take the left arm up to the ceiling. Take the left hand behind the head and drop through the elbow and then bring it up. Take the left arm up to the ceiling. Bring the left hand down. Step back into a plank. And in a plank, lower to a low push-up or all the way to the floor for cobra. Come up into an up dog. And then push back into a down dog. So push all the way back into a down dog. Then take your right leg up to the ceiling so the right leg is high. Bring the knee and nose together. Take it up. Bring it in. And when you bring it in, think of a big circular motion with the right leg. Pull it back in. Circle it out. Keep pushing through the hands as you take the right leg up. Bring the knee and nose together. Take it up and step the right foot forward to the top of the mat. Come up into a high lunge. I like opening and closing the hands. The more you do this, and it could be just 5, maybe 20 reps if you really wanted it. It'll help strengthen the hands. Right? I'm going to bring the left hand down on the floor and take the right arm up to the ceiling. So the right arm is high and the left hand is low. I'm going to rotate the arm out. I'm going to rotate it in. I'm going to rotate it out. I'm going to rotate it in. I'm going to make my stance a little wider and bring my right elbow on the inside of my right foot. My back leg is up, but it could very well be down. Take the right arm up to the ceiling and rotate the palm to the face. Rotate it in. Rotate it out. Bring the right arm down. And then inhale, take the right arm up. Broad shoulders, broad upper back. Right? And then bring the right hand down and bring the back knee down the floor. Now sit back with the hips. As you sit back, point through the foot. You can flex it. You could point it. It could rotate in. It could rotate out. In is typically actually more difficult for some people. I'm going to keep my leg towards my right leg. I'm going to lift it up. You can see which side's stronger. You can bring it down. You can bring it up. If I'm up on blocks closer to my hip, it's easier. So maybe that's where you need it to be. Take it up one more time. And then bring it down. Now take the left hand on the outside of the right ankle and keep getting smaller internally through the belly, through the abdomen. And pull the right hip back in space. A couple deep breaths here. And then come back into a lunge, but in a lunge, make it longer. Make it longer, move it forward. Try to make it, like you're approaching the splits, and maybe you are, right? You could put the block underneath your thigh, you could bring the block underneath your hips. Chairs are really, really good. So if I had 2 chairs beside me, I'd use them as much as I need to. Like I said, when you're not using your hands as much, it's more demanding in flexibility, but if you're creating good tension, you will get stronger from doing split work, right? So come back down with the hands, come back into a lunge, and bring your right arm up to the ceiling again. So the right arm is high, the left hand is low. Open and close the hand if you need it. Then bring the right elbow down. And you can see that each time you do this, it gets a little easier. And the way that I'm teaching this is so that you get more time in it. It's most likely to develop any of these poses, you really need more practice, not just more repetition. And there's a difference. You could take the right arm up. You could bring it behind the head, bring the right elbow down or the forearm, and then take the elbow up, turn, take the right arm up to the ceiling, bring the right hand down, and come into a plank. So push through the hands, right? Gather to the belly, spin the heels to the left side, and take the right arm up to the ceiling. And I say this all the time in my basic classes, if you really have tight shoulders, moving your arm more throughout the day will help. It's good to have it fixed if you have the strength and the flexibility in the shoulder, but you might not have the flexibility or the strength. You could be moving your arm in space. It's not viewed as classic yoga, right? Bring the right hand down, spin the heels to the right side, and take the left arm up to the hand. And it's nothing against yoga, but if you had some restrictions in your shoulder, moving your arm through space. So swimmers, for instance, they have some of the strongest and most flexible shoulders, on the planet. So you don't want to be hypermobile, but you want to have enough strength so that you can move your arms freely. Enough is, I think, a good start to a good goal to have. Then bring the left hand down and go back up into a down dog. Pull all the way back up into a down dog. Right. Take your right hand behind your back. Come forward into a plank, a one-handed plank. So grip the floor. And this isn't as flashy as a handstand, but it actually might be more difficult to hold. Go back up into a down dog. Because you really have to. Once I get my body in alignment of a handstand, some of it is a bit easy, right? We'll bring my right hand down, take my left hand behind my back, and I'm going to move forward in space. So moving forward, gripping the floor, keeping my hips level if I can. Go back up into a down dog, push through the hand, then take the left hand to where it was, the original place. And then walk the feet in, right? And come down on your knees and sit on your heels. So as you sit on your heels, take the arms again into a cactus position. Move the hands forward. Move them back in space. Really broad through the shoulders here. Bring it forward and down. And you're just, good thing about practicing online, I think it's almost even better than, like, say, a studio environment or group environment. That's definitely valuable, right? Take the arms in the cactus. But when you're practicing on your own, it's a lot more awareness built in. There's not as many distractions. You can bring the arms down. And when you bring the arms down, untuck the toes and sit on the feet. Have the hands beside you. Lift the knees up off the floor if you can. There's just more stress in the feet. And I say this often, again, in basic classes, the more flexible the feet are, the more pliable the body is. Same thing, if you have really tight hands, it reflects in the body, right? Bring the weight back, tuck the toes, and see if you can lift the knees. And this is much easier with blocks. I just didn't grab mine. So lift the knees, lower the knees, lifting. You might use a little bit of momentum at first, and that's okay. Eventually it's more refined. So bring your arms forward, lift up to the height of your hips. Knees could squeeze together, especially if you had something going on in your knee. Bring yourself up. So we'll go to the wall for your first handstand at the wall. And kick up till you can't hold it, you come down. But really push through the hands, get the arms involved, get the hands involved. And again, anybody can develop a handstand, especially if you desire it. That's, you gotta want it first and foremost. And then just getting more technical and conditioned, you'll get your handstand, which is, again, a great posture to rehabilitate hands and shoulders. A handstand's a great way. You'd think it might not, but that's how I view it. If you pursue a handstand, your hands are going to get stronger, your wrists are going to get stronger, your shoulders will get stronger. I've never hurt my shoulder in a handstand, but I have in other things, So it's a great position. So when you round your back, round through the spine, bring the weight forward to the hands, right? Press through the hands, and then come down with the knees. So you really want to get the feel before all of it, right? If that makes sense. then come down on the hands. So I'm gonna kick up, but I'm gonna practice it as I'm a beginner. I'm gonna go up and come down with you. So it's good that way because you'll get stronger, and you know, kicking up is a great way to come up, and eventually becomes more of a pressing action, right? So push through the hands, round through the back, and lift your right leg up, swing it up, and bring it down. Be really light. Swing it up, bring it down. Push through your fingertips, lift it up, bring it down. One more time, lift it up. Maybe you're staying up. Bring yourself back down. Come down on your knees, sit back on your feet, right? Shake it out if you need to, right? Not a bad thing to shake up the hands, the wrists. I believe in shaking, comes from Qigong. Very, very good before practice, meditation, especially when you're not feeling your best physically or mentally. So bring the hands down. We're going to kick up again, but with a strong or opposite leg. So press through the hands, round through the shoulders. If you're wanting to learn how to kick up, the L position is good, but it's actually really difficult to hold, right? So you want to get your legs up. If you're working on towards balancing, that's your thing. Get your legs up, not as fast as you can, but up. The further your legs, either one or both legs are back, the harder it is to stay up. Once you get in the line, it's easier to stay up. It's easier to balance, right? So push through the hands, round through the shoulders. We're going to swing the left leg up, shoulders over the wrist, lift your left leg up, bring it down, take it up, bring it down, bring it up, press. Keep the ribs in, bring the right leg down, take it back up, push, push, push with all your might, bring your right leg down, and come all the way down. So the coming up and down, again, is great conditioning. So start with like a minute, do it every other day, something like that, afternoon, evening, just like a minute, just start with a minute, just work on kicking up and down. You know, it's better in some ways because you're gonna get stronger, and then one day, you know, pick like a Wednesday or something like that, or a Saturday, work on balancing, right? So come into a squat, and when you squat, have your right elbow on the inside, stretch it out to the side. You want to have your shoulder into your knee, and take your left hand behind your head. So with your left hand behind your head, just feel what's separating your scapula, your upper back. You know, if you have good flexibility, it's not really, it's not going to be as beneficial. It's good maintenance, but and having the shoulder and broadening your back, it's just a really basic thing. Squatting, a lot of different positions, right? Bring the left arm down, keep the shoulder and the knee together, and then take the right hand behind the head. And every once in a while, just lift your hips up a little bit higher than, say, the low position. And when you're up just a little bit higher, it's good for your hips. It's good to kind of add some stability and action into the pose so that you're turning more to the right. And then bring the right hand down. So walk back into a down dog, right? And then reach across with the left hand. Try to grab the foot. You know, if you can grab the foot, great. I'm going to reach back. I'm going to bend my knees. I'm going to grab the foot. Now I'm going to twist, similar to what you just did, right? Keep the weight in the left foot. Then bring the left hand back where you had it and touch the foot with the right hand. Reach for the foot. Reach for the foot. Bend the knees and you'll be able to grab the foot, and then you can lift the hips. Now I'm reaching down with my heels. I'm turning my upper body to the left. And I say this all the time. I'm never, you know, even if someone was paying me a ton of money, honestly, I probably wouldn't go as far as I could go, because I know very well that I could tear something. So flexibility, not that, people that strive for really, really great flexibility isn't necessarily always a bad thing, but, I want to practice for a very long time physically, and I don't want to cause, any harm to myself, right? I'm a better person when I'm healthy. So many different ways, right? Walk the feet to the middle of your mat, walk your hands back towards your feet, and roll yourself up into a standing position. As you roll up, take the hands overhead, hook the thumbs, get small through the front of the body, and just practice your line in terms of being straight, right? Which will help with your handstand. A couple deep breaths. And then lower the heels, and you can exhale, you can lower the arms. Take the feet up in a wide stance, and with a wide stance, just kind of move the weight around. I'm turning my feet out. So I've been using this a lot, Cossack type of sequencing or conditioning. And maybe don't go as low, right? Maybe this is all that you're doing today. Just take it into a horse stance, but a really long horse stance. And in a longer horse stance, if it's too much stress, you're like, well, this is too long. You just narrow it. Again, if you just keep making it incremental widths, it can be just as good, right? So I'm just gonna sit a little bit lower than my knees to get more into the inner thighs, and then bring myself up. I'm gonna sit just a little bit lower than my knees. I bring myself up. And then what I'm gonna do is transfer the weight from one foot to the other. So elevate your heels if you don't have a flat-footed squat. Just roll up a blanket or put 2 pillows underneath your heels. It'll save your knees, right? So I'm gonna sit into the left side, and then as I sit to the left side, I'm not sitting as deep as I can. I'm keeping my foot more turned in, so it's more adductor. And then bring yourself up, and then go to the right or the left, doesn't matter, but push your feet apart, push your thighs apart, keep yourself upright. When you transfer the weight, feel the foot and bring yourself up, and then sit back into the left side. So what I'm saying about transferring the weight into the foot is you can, even if you're lifting weights, you can use your legs, you can use your upper body more than your lower body. So when people are training legs, they might not be using their legs as much as they think they are. Bring yourself up, bring yourself to the right. So when I do, and I don't use a lot of weights, but I do from time to time, I don't use a big amount of weight because I know that it's gonna play with my form, and it's also going to, I'm gonna use areas, I'm gonna cheat, right? So I go to I'm gonna sit all the way down if I can, turning the foot up. I'm gonna use a weight that I can control and that I can, progress. But like I said, I wanna use good technique, I wanna use my legs, I don't wanna just get it done and check the box, right? So push through the right foot, bring yourself up, lean into the left side, and stay with the foot turned out a little bit or in, and just work it. Work your legs. It's difficult to do. This is more stress for the hamstrings, the hips, the spine. You can turn the foot up and you can sit into the left foot. Now when the foot's up, it's hamstring. So remember when we were in a forward bend and we were lifting the leg up, you could do that, but you could also drive the heel down. So like dig your foot into the mat, the floor, you'll start to expand more the inner thighs, right? Push through the left foot, bring yourself up. We're gonna go to the right again. As you go to the right, turn the left foot up, sit deep into this, right? As you sit into it, you could use your hands to come down. I'm gonna bring my hips down without my hands, and then I'm gonna sit down into my hips. I'm gonna bring my right leg in. There's other ways you can have your leg. This is a way that I haven't practiced as much. That's why I'm using it more often. I've done more classic ways. This is more for internal rotation of the right hip. So bring yourself forward. As you bring yourself forward, of course you can use your hands. Try not to. Bring yourself up. Bring yourself forward. Extend. Again, it doesn't matter how low you're going. Bring yourself up. When you're not using your hands, it's all hamstring. When I'm using my hands, it's stretching my leg out, but maybe not as much as like this way, right? Now you could stay up with your hands, you could grab the foot now. I'm gonna hold the foot and I'm gonna flex the knee and I'm gonna try to take the heel a little bit off the floor, just a little bit, and then lower it down. Pull on the foot, right? Press the leg into the floor, the left leg, and bring it down. Shift, every once in a while, shift the weight into your right hip, because internal rotation is really kind of, it's not really practice unless you are practicing it. It's more of an external rotation in any yoga kind of setting, right? So flex the foot, lift the foot up off the floor, pull back on the top of the foot, press the left leg into the floor, and bring yourself up. When you come up, elevate the right knee, push through the right foot. Notice when you stand up out, even a chair, just a basic chair, is you want to use your abdomen to come up. You don't want to just keep tipping forward. When you climb upstairs, stop leaning forward. Use your legs to come up. Bring yourself up. Lean into the left side. Make it a little wider. It should be easier to make it a little wider. Sit into the left foot. Lift the toes of the right foot. Again, if your stance is off, you correct it. It's up to us as practitioners to make the practice good. Press the thighs apart. Use your hands to sit down. Resist coming down if you're not using your hands. Like, resist it. Not easy. Turn the left leg in. Turn the right leg forward. You could line up your knee to your hip. It's more like frog. More difficult. You can come forward. You can come down. But drive through the right heel, or think that you're lifting your leg up towards your face. Both are good. Bring yourself up. My left hip really doesn't, it's difficult to rotate in. So some days I'll do more work on this side just because this hip, it just doesn't move as well as my right. Bring yourself forward. Bring yourself up. Bring yourself forward, but lead with the chest. Try to keep your back straight, not critical, unless you do have a history of back pain. You could grab the top of the foot, push down through the right leg, the back of the knee, and then pull back on the foot and just try to lift the heel a little bit off the floor. See which heel comes up easier. My right side comes up better. So I have a little bit more difficult time in pulling the right foot back in some ways. So you notice I brought my hand here, then I can get more flush. Lots of different ways you can do this, but I'm pulling on the foot, I'm gonna lift the heel and then lower it down. Now just bring the weight a little bit into the left hip if you need it more, stay longer. Elevate the left knee, turn the foot out a little bit, and just feel, if you're learning to do this with your hands, without your hands, start with a small weight, right? That really makes a difference. But then when you transfer the weight into the foot, the left foot, you want to feel the power in the foot. You don't want to just bring yourself up. So push through the left foot, bring yourself up, standing nice and tall, and then take the feet out nice and wide. Wide, 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 wide stance. Good to have your hands down. Good to have your hands in a chair. If you feel like it's painful, it's telling you that you can't take the weight just yet, and you want to respect that. It's not going to go away. That will not go away, and you can really hurt yourself. So bring your hands down just for a moment if you're not already, and then lift your thighs up and out. Lift your thighs up and out. For me, middle splits have been way more difficult to achieve than, say, front splits. But the more you do side splits, the easier it'll be to do front splits. I think more so that way than front splits will assist side splits. Side splits are very different, very unique. So turn the feet in a little bit closer, or bring the feet in a little bit closer. Bring yourself back up to standing, right? And then bring the feet in. As you bring the feet in, we're going to just step the feet back together. Right? Just bend the knees a little bit and straighten the legs out. See how your ankles are moving. Right? See how your knees are moving. Right? The smallest motions are really the biggest event, you know, the initiation, and it's something bigger, right? So I'm going to have my legs together. I'm going to come up on my toes a little bit, and I'm driving my tailbone down, right? Just sitting down, just strengthening my legs from having my legs straight, and then back up. So if I'm doing a lot of folded positions, then I straighten my legs out. If I'm doing a lot of straight legs positions, I may want to alter that or change it where my legs are being more bent. Just a basic sissy squat. Maybe after this handstand, we'll do some rotational work, which is really, really good for just overall strength and flexibility. So we'll go to the wall, and just to give you a different take, it's good to do both ways. Not that one is better than the other, but you know, say you can't come up kicking, you can come up with more like a donkey kick or a frog kick, however you want to call it. So I'm going to come down on my hands. Now, you want to be light, you want to pack the shoulders, you want to connect into the belly and the core, right? And then when you push through the hands, round through the spine, and when you now, it's easier to just lift the hips up. But if you're a person that's getting stronger, be more in a tuck position, like knees closer to the body. That takes a lot more strength. Not to say that it's better, but it has its place, right? So bring the hands down, round through the shoulders. So you round through the shoulders, round through your back, right? Bend your knees and lift yourself up. So again, keep the knees in the chest if you can. All right, bring it up one more time, and let's try to stay up. Now when you come up, get your legs straight. Look more towards the wall that your feet are pointed to. Right? Don't look forward. Look down to the floor, heels of the hands, or look, right, to, say you're on your mat, right? The mat that's furthest away from you, the corner of the mat that's furthest away from you, and move the weight around, right? Because you may very well be in one hand more than the other, and that's the hand that supports you. Stay up, keep the belly in, keep the ribs in, push through the hands, push, get the shoulders involved, and then when you come down, bring one leg down, right? I'm going to bring my left leg forward and down. Slow, 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 slow. And then come into a squat. And interlace the fingers and circle the hands and get the wrists to move and just get the bones to move. And then make your left hand into a fist and pull back on the hand. So pull back on it. And bring the right hand into a fist and pull back on the right fist. So maybe at the end I'll do some push-ups for the wrists. I really like those, but if you can't do them, this is good too. Right? This is a good way. It's not as much weight bearing, but it's a good start. I'm just so I don't forget that, I'm going to come down on my hands and my knees, so that when I'm on my hands and my knees, I may need more padding for my hands. Like I may have to. So I'm going to bring my hands, and then I'm going to sort of, if I needed more padding, right, just fold the mat just so that you have that. And then just bring the backs of the hands to the floor. Open the hands, close the fist, make a fist. Get all your fingers included. Lift yourself up. Come back onto the backs of the hands. Open the hands, close the hands, come down. Lift yourself up. Bring it back. Like, this is weight bearing resistance for the wrists, and it's good to stretch them out this way. Just one more time. Come onto the backs of the hands, open the hands, close the hands, come down, and come up. Good. Now come up onto your hands and rotate the hands in, and just move the weight side to side, or forward and back. I'm gonna do a circle around the other way. Right. And then come back into the middle, turn the hands forward. And with the hands forward, come up into a down dog. Lower to a chaturanga. Come up into an up dog. Pull back up into a down dog. Go all the way back. Walk the feet forward. Walk the hands back to the feet. Roll yourself up. Each and every vertebrae individually. Some point your back kind of is sticky, doesn't move very much. This is a good angle for me. I roll all the way up, and then I'm up to standing. Right? Just take a couple deep breaths. When you're standing today, especially if you're stressed, notice where you hold your weight in your feet. It doesn't seem like a lot, but if you're leaning into that side, and these are stressful times, right? You want to go into the other foot, and that'll change a lot of things. You know, it's an accumulative that when someone has back pain or wrist pain, or it's like habitually been done over and over and over again, and then things fail us, and they will, and it's okay. But know that you can prevent some of these things, especially when you're sitting. See how you sit, especially when you're tired. Correct it. Same thing, you could send me a picture of yourself or a video of yourself, and I can correct these things very easily. And I want to help you as best that I can. So what we're going to do is just come up on the toes, lift the heels off the floor, and then lower the heels. So you want to be up on the toes. Knees don't have to be together, they can, right? I'm gonna look back to my foot. Now, just so that you have just an outlet, like make a stack of blocks or something like that. Just have something that, just in case you do want to touch this, right? That's good. It's lower than a chair, definitely lower than a chair. So that's a good point but I want to resist through the front of my body. I want my glutes involved, and then as I reach back, maybe it's my foot. So if it's the right side, come up on the toes, reach back. Like I said, this will really help with a lot of different things. Not that this is the be all, but there's so much force and weight. And if you have tightness, which most people do, right, you're gonna get stronger and more flexible in doing this. If you want to grab the feet, you're gonna come up on the toes. I'm gonna look to my foot. Shouldn't hurt your back at all. If it does, don't go lower than you are. Be smart. But if I go back and say it's just not happening, well then it's not happening. Bring yourself up. Again, it's a practice. It's not so much a performance. So you're going back, and maybe you're touching the foot, and maybe you're touching the floor eventually, right? You see a big difference in how your body relates. Again, use your blocks, use your chair, come up on the toes. So if I'm, coming here, I'm gonna turn. The majority of your back rotates. So it's safe, right? You can reach for the foot, you can bring yourself up. One more time. Glutes are strong. I can feel it more on my left hip than my right, so I want to squeeze more on my right side. It's good to test. You can reach for the foot. You can bring yourself up. And then as you're up, it's good to move like that, rotate. So we're going to finish up in a split. So have your chair, right? I like the chair, if I only have one chair, on the side that my back leg is back, right? So when I go back, I'm in a long stance, really long stance, and I'm driving my tailbone down just like I did in the sissy squat, twist, back bend, but I'm staying upright. I'm using the block as much as I need to, right? And then when I'm in it, I should feel pretty good. This variation is really for the back hip. I mean, if you're really tight in your front leg, it's gonna feel like that's the work is. But sit, if you want to sit lower, you can sit lower. And if you want to sit, now you could change the blocks, right where the block is underneath the thigh. And, you know, more of like, but I still want to push down. I want to be active. And as I'm getting more and more active in it, then it's, again, I'm getting stronger and flexible, which you don't want to just get flexible. You won't feel great from it. You know, it really hurts people. You know, you want to stay strong, and that's what's going to help your joints. Bring yourself up, and then when you come up, you could use the blocks, right? Say you're like, whoa, I can't come out of this. Turning to your left is always an outlet. So say you can't come up, right? That'd be the case. You turn and you come out. But if you can, lift up onto the blocks. Make it just a little shorter, create some tension. Right? Use the blocks. Move the right foot in, the front foot. Make it shorter. Right? Step the left foot forward. Come up to standing. Feel the floor, feel your feet. Your legs should be getting stronger from a class like this. So step the left foot forward. Step the right foot back. Have the blocks on the right side. Get nice and, you know. So I'm using as little as strength as I need in my right hand. And again, it's more for getting my legs to be more resilient, and it's also to help with me expanding in a full range of motion. Like I could very well do this, not to my fullest capacity, but the first thing in the morning. Like I wouldn't do that, but I know very well I can hold the pose. I know how to hold the pose that well to get, you know, most of the way. And then if I wanted to, I could put the block underneath my left thigh. It's where I like it. It could be underneath, like say you want it more for hamstring. I could be here, and then it's a lot like, more of like the classic Hanumanasana. And as you're in this, you can push down through the feet, you can lift up through the upper body, and just feel what's the restriction. Not that that's bad, but that's kind of what's stopping you from having a fuller range of motion. But again, don't beat yourself up if you can never get the splits. It's really not that important. Bring the hands down to the floor, and know that you can turn to your right or your left to come out. So you don't want to get too deep and not know how to come out, right? So turn forward, bring the hands on the blocks again if you're coming up like I am. So push through the feet. If you can, hold yourself up. I didn't do this before, but this is a way to do it in sneakers. Really, really great. Very good way to do it. Because the sneakers, like a yoga mat, you won't slip, you won't fall, most likely. Have some support close to you as you are first learning it, like I am now. But then eventually you can take that stuff away. So bring the left foot in, shorter. Step the right foot forward. Stand up. Come into a squat. So bend the knees. Move the hips back in space. Come low into your squat. You can open and close the hands. Right? Take the right hand behind the head, turn to the right. Take the right arm up to the ceiling. Rotate the thumb back. Rotate it forward. Rotate it back. Think it lifting, turning. Bring the right arm down. Keep the right shoulder into the knee. You could hold the foot. You could take the left hand behind the head. Again, it's just a matter of preference. Some things work better than others, of course, right? But see what, I could even pull on the mat. I could hold a wall. I'm rotating the left shoulder out. I'm rotating it in. I'm rotating it out. And then rotating it in. So let's say we're pretty close to the end. You're like, I'm done. Just lie back on your back. Good work, good job. Again, send me videos if you need more help. And I'd love to answer your questions if you need more assistance in building better practice, healthier practice. If you really like the class, share it with your friends, your family. Let them know that you're benefiting from my classes, because it helps me teach people for free. I'm helping quite a bit of people online, which I love. I love that I can do that. But the more people that can donate, and the more people that shares my services, it really helps me help more people. So how I'm gonna end, and this is just kind of, say you still have more and you really want to build up more strength, bent arm strength will help you. And not to say that push-ups are bad, push-ups are great, right? Push-ups are a very good thing. But I'm going to do some push-ups, a pike push-up. So come onto your hands. Blocks actually makes it more difficult. So come on your hands, be in a down dog, and you want to hug in and feel the outside of the shoulder. So because we're going to come all the way down, if you can't come back up, come down on your knees, right? So come up into a down dog, pull back, bring yourself forward, hug in, and then go back up. Now, if that was relatively easy, you've done it before, walk your feet in a little bit closer, and then what we're gonna do is same thing, but we're gonna hug in. I'm gonna do 5. So I'm gonna do them really slow. So a slow descent, right? And then push up. Slowly lower down. Know that you could come to your knees, go back up into down dog or pike, go back up, hug in, push to the hands, resist the floor, resist, push up. And you got 2 more. So hug in, hug in, hug in, hug in, push up. Last one. Again, when you do things slow, you really don't need a high number. Not that a high number is bad, right? Come onto your knees, sit on your feet, sit nice and tall. You need a relaxation, line your back. Just gonna stretch out the wrist a little bit. Turn the hands out, move it out side to side. Bring the backs of your hands to the floor again, side to side. So this back of the hand isn't used as much, especially in yoga. It's very good for the wrists and the forearms. And then you can come into a seated position if you're not resting. If you're resting, be on your back, let everything go, support yourself in positions. When you don't have the energy to train hard, use meditation, use breath work. Right? When you have the energy, because it comes in waves, do your handstands, do some form of plank, do some physical practice, and that's a great way to keep your head in a good place in terms of these times. So again, thank you for all the support. I love all the messages. I really appreciate it. Again, let me know how the classes are going, especially if they're giving you trouble, right? You can adapt it. That's the beauty of it all, is we can just keep adapting it, making it stronger, pulling back, making it stronger, pulling back when we need to. So have a beautiful day. Have a great weekend. If I don't see you, maybe I'll see you in class tomorrow or Sunday. Tomorrow's class is at 9 to 10. Sunday's class is from 10 to 11. You have to register for Sunday's class. It's on Zoom. Namaste.